Kia ora koutou and welcome to South Pacific Muscle. Today we've got Anthony Morris joining us and Tracey Donovan. So welcome on board, Ant and Trace.
Oh man, thanks for having me, bro.
It's always good having you guys. It's always good. Hey, look, today we want to do a bit of a discussion around intensity techniques and a few things that you can throw into your training if you haven't tried some of them already. But first, I think it's that time of year. Fuck, I'm excited. Like a big kid. It's like Olympia weekend. Yay! And I've got to do a shout out to Katia. So she's over there in America representing New Zealand. So all the very, very best. And can't wait to see you on stage, girl. Kill it. Before we kick off into the intensity techniques, I just want to bring up a couple of the latest photos because we've all done our predictions. And I think some of those are going to go out the window. Obviously, Ruley's out. So that's a bit of a shame. Hardy has got his visa apparently, so he's on board. So yeah. I'll bring up a couple of photos and we'll have just make some general comment. Right, so the first photo and probably the only photo I've seen of William Bonac, and we're not seeing a lot, but any comments on William?
William's always on, bro, and he's definitely on this year, as always. That dude, obviously, coming from a 212 background, that is a shitload of muscle on that frame.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
Were you at the Pro-Am 2019 when Mo got a mo for guest posing?
No.
Yeah, I was there, bro, and I had him, literally, right in front of me, and I was like, how can you have that much tissue on that frame, eh? Yeah. There's just muscle on muscle, bro, eh?
I met him at the Olympia in 2016, and even then, yeah, pretty blown away. Interesting to see what he's like when we say. I know he's going to be on, but just can't wait to see what he's been hiding for all these months lately.
Yeah, definitely.
So, sorry, Mike.
Yeah, the question is, how good does he have to be? I mean, because he's the smaller stature. I mean. He's always on. His conditioning's great. He's got that great big full bubbly muscle. They call him the miniature Phil Heath, But how symmetrical, how shredded, how amazing does he have to be to actually win the whole thing, or is that just not conceivable for him? He just doesn't have the size.
With him, he gets really good with obviously the illusion, man. When he's up there with all the other guys, he doesn't look like he's getting out muscle or size. Because if you put it for his height and weight. You compare him to the bigger guys, he's got just as much, if not more muscle, more tissue than a lot of those dudes up there, eh?
So he's in it to win it, you reckon, this year? Somewhere up there, the top 3?
I actually have a list, bro. I'll just go get my list. Because I remember I missed out on the predictions. I've got a few notes.
Cool,
so I'll just go grab it.
Yeah, bro. Yes, and Hunter Labrada, he's really improved. I mean, he was pretty sensational in his debut and his win, but he looks pretty amazing.
And the picture of his back on RX Muscle was pretty ludicrous too. It's just as good as the front.
Yeah, look, here's a photo. There's the one there.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, looks nasty hamstrings, glutes. Yeah, I think he's going to be nipping at the heels in that top 5. He'll be in that 5 or 6 space there, I reckon. But
I listened to Fuad do his predictions with Ian Valieri, I think, and Nick Walker. And once they started trying to put these guys in, you go, oh yeah, but who drops out? Because you put him in the top 5, and where's Dexter, or where's someone really good's got to fall out of that top 5. So yeah, I agree. He looks insane.
Ed's thoughts on Hunter?
I personally don't agree with him being in the top 6, to be honest. I reckon he's probably 7th or 8th, more like. The guy's got a wicked physique, but he's grown very fast, so that tissue isn't that matured yet. Yep. That's the only thing that I think's letting him down, but that will come with time. Obviously, there's one thing about growing new muscle, but there's one thing about having that muscle maturity, which creates that on stage. It's going to create that more grainier, more conditioned look than someone, than a new guy's always going to get out muscled by an older guy,
Easy come, easy go too, you lose it quick in your diet when you only just gained it, eh?
Exactly, yeah.
Latest update from Justin Rodriguez.
Justin's a freak, man, eh?
Yeah, man.
He'll be in the top 10, bro. But I would probably have. Well, I've got my list here, so this is what my prediction is. We probably know. Obviously, I reckon Phil's going to be like 99% on. You know, pretty much right there. So I've got Phil, Rami, Hardy, Brandon, Bonac, Dexter, the top 6. So I reckon Justin will be. It'll be a toss between Justin and Hunter for maybe like 7th or 8th, somewhere around there.
I think Hunter's probably got a more balanced physique than Justin. I mean, Justin is an absolute freak, and I love his physique, but his delts are just so fucking big and wide that his legs sometimes he loses that X frame. Yeah,
that's the thing, man. Yeah, definitely.
Picture of Ian there. Hard to know with Ian, you know. Like I'm really interested in him versus Hunter, but it's just really hard to know. Like, there's not a lot. I mean, he hasn't posted as many photos recently as he had been doing. Thoughts on Ian?
Yeah, I reckon the thing about Ian is we've found out over time. I mean, when he was up against Hunter at Tampa and came second, he lost his head a bit going into the show, and it made his look obviously off.
Yeah,
with anxiety and cortisol and stuff. But you guys have seen the updates from him. He is dry, he is hard, and he is on point. And the most people forget the most thing, if your head's not in the right space, neither is your body, bro. So, and he's definitely in the right space. So I think it's going to be. It's hard to say, man. I think that he's definitely going to be a top 10 guy, but I would say maybe 9th, 8th, battling for that sort of placing. It's hard to tell,
Tell me you haven't seen this photo.
Yeah.
He's got fucking veins that are bigger than some people's forearms. The state of him. Awesome seeing him getting his visa, and absolutely looking forward to seeing what he brings to the stage this year. He just phenomenal.
That veins on his forehead too.
Biggest criticism. If that's the best criticism you can come up with, I think he's definitely up in that top 3 battle. That's
what did I reply when you sent it to me?
Ooh, I can't remember. What did you say?
Nate Williams, 2021.
Oh, it's legal way more than me. And finally, so on the NZ IFBB Instagram page, for those that don't follow that, we spotted probably the first update I think that I'd seen around the traps actually of Brandon Curry. And what are people's thoughts on Brandon? Ants, Tracey?
Phenomenal. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, fuck it. I don't know, man. Look, I just can't wait to see the top 6 guys lined up on. Actually, I can't wait to see all of them, to be honest. I think what I've noticed this year seems to be what we've seen as condition, and I don't think last year there was Hardy. William, although I thought Hardy was, by far the standout condition on that stage. But I'm hoping this year we're going to see a bit of a resurgence in that. I mean, obviously definitely paid dividends, obviously, for like Hollingshead earlier in the season, and hopefully there's a bit of direction going that way.
It sucks for James with COVID, man. London is a shit show over there, eh?
Is it? What's happening?
Yeah, everything. They found a new mutation of COVID or whatever, and there's like a new line of it over there, and that's the outbreak. So everything's locked down now. Christmas will be locked down.
Oh wow, far out. Because they've only just come out of their lockdown, haven't they?
Yeah, they did.
Oh wow. Oh, well, anyone who's over there in the UK, all the very best, and you'll get through it. We always do. Right. Back, we're onto our topic, even though it's hard to get away from the Olympia stuff. It's just so exciting. Today we wanted to talk about intensity techniques and incorporating them into your workouts, and really more so than going through like the technical side of things, we'll just want to talk about our experiences with different techniques and how they've helped us, how we use those in our workouts. So I guess, Mike, do you want to sort of touch on a bit of the history of intensity versus volume and that type of thing?
Yeah, real quick overview, but when I was hard into it in the 90s, it was all about Dorian Yates. And so to kind of explain to people how his sort of style of training evolved or how it worked was, everybody knew about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was the man, and it was most notable, and he was the most successful and so on. But he was doing sort of volume. He was doing 25 sets of 5 exercises for chest, 25 sets for chest, training for an hour and a half or so. At the same time, Mike Mentzer was around. He was winning a couple of universe titles and so on. He was, obviously not as notable, but he was still a very successful bodybuilder, and he would totally opposite end of the spectrum. He would warm up and he'd do 3 exercises, 1 set per exercise, but they're obviously insanely high intensity. And they're both relatively similar, equally good bodybuilders. So two completely contrasting training styles, both yielded really, really good results. So once you sort of understand that it wasn't just all about one way and all about the way Schwarzenegger trained, you kind of open your ideas to different things. And Yates, as I understand it, tended to use a bit of a hybrid, which is what I sort of copied when I was training, which he would do, say, 3 exercises or so, and he would do about 2 working sets per exercise. So it'd be down to about 6. So not quite the Mike Mentzer 3 sets, but those were at super high intensity.
Can you remember where Mike Mentzer developed his training from? Because it was I know it was another one of the old names in bodybuilding. Was it Arthur Jones? Arthur Jones?
Yeah, Arthur Jones, who created the Nautilus machines, eh?
Yeah. So he had a heavy influence on Mike Mentzer, and also ultimately, I guess, Dorian Yates.
Yeah, he did, definitely. Because Mike learned a lot from Arthur Jones. Arthur Jones wasn't even a bodybuilder. He was just a multi-millionaire that just was so interested and he wanted to learn how the human body adapts and grows muscle tissue. That's the only reason why he got into it, because it was just like a hobby of his. Oh, wow. And then he started building those machines. A lot of them, obviously, most of them worked out very well, but a lot of them, if you look back in those, those old training videos, there's a few on YouTube with like Boy at Co.
Yeah.
And they're using this like a row machine, like a seated row, and it's like fucking so big with all these it looks like a bloody it's the size of like half a car, man. It's like a seated row machine. All like chain driven and everything with like sprockets and chains and all that crap.
Over engineered.
Yeah.
Oh, gold. Cool. Okay, so there was volume, and that was the long workouts, lots of sets, versus get in, get out, smash it, and walk out the other side, crawl out the other side.
Just to chuck a little bit of sciencey exercise physiology in there. You've got type 1, type 2, and type 2A fibers. Your type 1 are your slow twitch. Now, they're endurance fibers. They've got more mitochondria. They kind of last longer and so on, but they're not as bulky. So, you want to work all your fibers. So that's why we use a variety of rep ranges and a variety of training styles. But the fast twitch fibers are bulkier. So if you want to, and you just have to look at the Olympics, the sprinters are much bigger than the runners, obviously. So to train in that way, where you train like a sprinter, which is really high intensity, give yourself a decent long break so you can do another really high intensity set and keep the volume relatively low. So you need these intensity techniques that we'll go on to talk about to push that intensity high enough so that the smaller volume you do is enough to stimulate your muscle to grow.
Yeah.
So I guess let's cut to the chase and get into the most basic, I suppose, of intensity techniques that almost everyone who's ever been into a gym has done. The force rep. So, you know, I'm sure we've all used force reps along the way. Tracey, you use a lot of force reps. Do you do them?
Well, I'm all about the form. So if my form goes, then nah, I won't. I'd rather just do like drop sets.
Yep.
Supersets. That's my thing.
Ants, you a big force rep guy or not really?
Definitely, yeah. But you guys probably noticed I mostly train by myself, and I always have trained by myself. So sometimes I'll occasionally get a spot for someone to give me a couple extra reps.
Yep.
But yeah, for me, like I'll go to my heaviest working set for like 7 to 9 reps, and then go to failure on that. And then if I want to put a bit more, like depending how many heavy exercises I'm doing, like 1 to 2 or 3, I might do a drop set on that exercise. But that's pretty much how I've always done it. Or supersets. Like instance for tonight, I was training hamstrings. I was doing high and wide stance, like leg presses. I had 10 plates aside. I did 20 reps on that, on the leg press, and then went over to line leg curl and did probably 3/4 most of the stack for like a good solid, slow, contracted 6 reps.
Yep.
So you're doing like what Mike just said about the different fibers. And what I find if I train like that, you're hitting all the fibers at the same time, you know, and you're confusing the muscle sort of.
Yep.
So you get the volume, and then you get that heavy, lower volume like intensity sets, you know.
I'm probably the same as you, really. Because I train alone, I think I've done 1 force rep in the last 6 months, hand on heart, because it's built into my program now that I've got to do actually 2 force reps in 6 months.
Yeah.
So not something I use currently, but something, you know, that in the past I used to utilize a lot. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, I used to be 2 or 3 of us trained together back in the day, which kind of kept the rest periods relatively long, which meant the load was relatively high and I used to try and limit to probably 2 or 3 force reps. I didn't want to go nuts doing lots and lots of them. And so my total number would be in that 8 to 10 range after the force reps. I'd be looking for maybe 6 to 8 on my own, and then a couple of force reps in there. But what I found is that over time, we'd end up doing lots and lots of those sets.
Yeah.
So it sort of defeated the purpose of that high intensity, trying to cut the volume down by making them insanely hard, by just making them quite hard and doing lots of them. So it didn't really work. So I had to kind of go away from that and use some other techniques.
Yeah.
Probably worth mentioning at this point that, you know, any of these techniques that we use with force reps, whether it's supersetting, which Ants has talked about, where you take 1, 2, sorry, 1 or 2, take 2, 3 exercises, sometimes more, and jump between them very quickly. But even anything like that, we can only use a limited amount of those in each workout. Otherwise, you just sort of thrash yourself into the ground. Have you guys? Yeah, I think some people probably fall into that category because they've got that mindset of I want to get in there and I want to absolutely obliterate it. And after a week, they're probably, you know, CNS system starting to take a bit of a beating and not recovering. Have you guys ever found that you've overcooked yourself doing certain things like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like not this Sunday, gone the Sunday before, I got very aggravated and frustrated on hack squats because I didn't hit 5 plates for like 10 reps, and I literally just like got up and I took a plate off and I did a 4.5 minute drop set on the hack squat. I literally could not after these sets, and it was only 3 sets, bro. But I did like 4 plates for 15 reps, 3 plates for 12 reps, 2 plates for 12 reps, 1 plate for 15 reps. I literally could not breathe. And then that was that day when I thought I tore my adductor and hammy too. And it was from that stupid being just a meathead and getting so pissed off that I just obliterated myself. Because after that, I went and did leg presses and curls and stuff. And I was taking my knee sleeves off. And it was like someone put like a box cutter in my adductor and just like stabbed and turned it. Like I could feel my hamstring going like this. It was like fishtailing from this cramp. Like it cramped up so bad, man. I thought it like fell off the bone.
Wow. Any horror stories like that, Tracey?
No, I just tend to, like if I go for it and then you think oh, you know, like what Ant said, you get frustrated, and it's listening to your body, but you don't want to wuss out. It's that fine line. So yeah, basically, if I feel like that, I'll just slow it down, take the weight off, and just slow it down and do it that way.
Cool. Okay, so we talked about force reps. We've talked about supersetting.
I want to jump on supersets. Finish with that.
Away. Yeah, man.
Oh, supersets are one of my favourites. You know, I heard them off on one of the podcasts, but I almost exclusively use them as pre-exhaust supersets. So I'll do an isolation followed by a compound exercise. Now, to me, I'm trying to keep the weight off my joints and tendons. So if I do like go into a cable crossover or a pec fly or something like that for 10 to 12 reps, and then straight away without any rest, I'll go into like an incline dumbbell press or something, and that decreases the weight I could incline by quite a lot, but still like blows my chest up. Because the principle behind that is, your triceps are generally the weak link in your pressing. So if you can fatigue your pecs before you get into your pressing, then hopefully they won't be the weak link in your chest. It gives you kind of different feel. Your pecs almost go dead. Before, you kind of, this doesn't feel very heavy. I should be moving it. Why is it not moving? So I enjoy that. I do it with legs as well, quad extension onto leg press. I do shoulders, lateral raises onto upright rows, that sort of thing. So I almost exclusively use the pre-exhaust, but it can be used as opposed to.
I struggle with getting two machines in a busy gym, and you'll sort of be doing one exercise straight over to the other, and someone else has moved the pin around, and you kind of like, just get the fuck out of the way. So I've kind of avoided them, but it's something that I really enjoyed doing. But I do very little of it, other than occasionally on arms I do a little bit. Tracey, you using much in the way of supersetting?
Yeah, I tend to do it quite a bit. Supersets, like legs, I'll do, because I love my front squats. So front squats, then I'll go do sissy squats. And just go backwards and forwards there.
Nice. That sounds pretty brutal, actually.
It is. Yeah, it is, but it's fun. All the same thing, like leg extensions and squats.
Yep.
Always squats.
I think the idea of trying to really nail your prime mover with an isolation exercise, and then the supporting and stabilizing muscles are still fresh. That can kind of push those main muscles onto a little bit higher intensity.
Right, my favourite be drop sets. So drop sets are probably something most of us have used along the way. I love drop sets. I mean, either on anything that's plate loaded or on dumbbells, where you can grab 3 sets of dumbbells. And I think I did them on flies the other day, and I started pretty light because I was sitting up in that 12-15 range. Probably I think may have even been less than 20 kilos. Did 12 to 15 reps straight down, dropped 5 kilos into, I think I managed about 8 or 10. And then in the end, I was using 5 kilo dumbbells, and I managed about 8 and then rolled off the bench. So really enjoy my drop sets and find that is a really good way, mainly towards the tail end of the workout for me. Your guys' experience with drop sets?
I love them with shoulders, like shoulders. I just go up and down the rack with the dumbbells. That's my favourite.
On lateral raises?
Yeah, lat raises or seated.
Yeah.
Just so that it takes that swing out of it. That's good too. Love it.
Ed?
Yeah, I love drop sets, eh? To be honest, I haven't been doing them as much lately. I've been doing a lot more supersets, and because I've been trying to get a lot stronger, you're taxing the CNS a lot with drop sets. But yeah, all the time, like I'll do, especially for arms, like drop sets are really good. So if you're doing like a cable press down, say if I've got like the stack plus a plate pinned on it, I'll do that for like 8 to 10, then drop the plate to do the stack for like 10 to 12, and then like half for like another 15 reps, and just really squeeze them out,
Yeah. Hey, one of the things I've been doing lately is been doing a lot of work with bands, and I start off with, say, I did leg extensions, and I had 2 bands on, and I'd go to failure, drop a band, go to failure, drop a second band, go to failure, then drop a bit of weight, and like, pretty fried after that. So.
Yeah, I saw that. They're definitely. That's another thing I love doing to pre-exhaust my quads on my second leg day of the week, which is always quad focused, I love to do the extensions, like build up to the stack, do like 12 to 15 with the stack, then like when you did drop it.
Mm-hmm.
It just smokes you, man. And the pain you get from that is just absolutely just I've had it with my quads, like they go numb, the pain, the lactic acid. So
You go past the point of it hurting, don't you?
yeah.
I got a couple of a comment and a question. One is when I work with clients, often I have to talk to them about, is this stuff that's going to make you grow, or is this stuff that's going to make you feel like you've had a really good workout? Because you see a lot of clients or a lot of athletes will finish their chest workout with a whole lot of cable crossovers. Now you've done the bread and butter, you've done the pressing, might have even done a superset in there with the flies and incline presses and that. So that's the bread and butter. It's going to make your chest grow. But unless it's screaming and full of lactic acid, they feel like they haven't had a workout, so they're going to do a whole bunch of cable crossovers. Now that may elicit a little bit more growth, a tiny bit, but it's certainly going to increase your recovery time by quite a lot. So getting back to, well, is this the stuff that's going to make me grow, or is it going to make me feel like it's going to make me grow?
Yeah.
So, and you talked about putting it in at the end of your workout, and that's sort of one of the most common places to put that in. Another question I've got for you guys is, if we talk about bodybuilding rep ranges being in that 8 to 12, and really anywhere 6 to 15, if you're doing a drop set, effectively you're doing 30 reps on that set, on that muscle group. Sorry. So I mean, you can elicit growth through higher reps. Not the most efficient way to build, and we all do it, so it must work. But where you're doing a triple drop set reps on each one, you're actually doing a 30 rep set on that muscle, rather than around that bodybuilding rep range. So what do you guys think about the idea of doing that effectively 30 reps on a muscle group for growth?
Definitely. I mean, it's also about knowing what works for your body, eh? I mean, Mo was big on that 1,000 rep stuff, and he obviously grew. And that was like, I've even heard, like, he just used to use for arms sometimes like bands even, or all cable stuff. If remember, as a bodybuilder, the more blood, the more nutrients, the more amino acids you can put in that muscle and blow it up, stretch the fascia tissue, you're teaching it to be bigger, So, I mean, also the higher reps you train, the stronger you get in the higher reps. Like what Tom Platt said, once you're getting strong in the higher rep ranges, especially on like legs and stuff, that's when you're going to see the like really good growth,
I like doing, I'm like Rich Piana, the feeder workout thing, man, that works. Like he used to do, like, he'd do his shoulders during the day, and then at night he'd do 100 with a 5 kilo dumbbell, 3 lots of that. But I do it the next day. I'll go in the next day and just pump the blood into what I've trained the day before. And then get my next workout.
Yeah.
And that's really good. That works.
It also helps a lot with recovery, I found.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Because you're putting once again, you put all the nutrients into the muscle. So
yeah, you smashed it the day before, and you're just getting the blood, getting the pump in there on the next day. Yeah.
I've got a question. So it's something that's just sort of popped into my head. So when we're dieting or we're in deficit, we're trying to hang on to muscle, and essentially, the thinking is keep your training heavy and do what you did to get the muscle in the first place. And as you know, we don't get the same sort of pump as we do when we're off season. When we're off season, and we're fully fucking blown, full of carbs, whip down a bit of fucking Viagra before you train, and we get that real, you get that massive pump, and stretching the fascia and all those things you're doing to try and push that growth in those muscles. Do you think that these intensity techniques have got more of a place in the off season with growth as opposed to when we're coming down in deficit?
Yeah, in the deficit, I like when I'm dieting and you're sort of in the thick of it, I just, to get my, I don't know, the intensity, I tend to just slow it down and just real feel it and do it that way, because I don't want to injure myself. I could go as heavy as my body feels that it can, but yeah, I'm all for slowing it down and feeling the burn and getting it that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. You shouldn't really change your training, like you said, a whole bunch between off season and then when you're prepping for a show. I mean, but as you get in that, 5, 4, 3 weeks out range, you don't want to be hitting bloody PBs because, for one, your muscles are dry. You're not going to have as much. Obviously, the pumps are going to be as good, and the more blood you have in there, the safer it's going to be anyway. But yeah, I reckon you still want to stay around that. Stay as strong as you can within reason, and then always do the heavier stuff first, and then finish with the volume. Moderate to lighter weights, and just bang out the volume at the end of the session. Because I find also, if you don't do, like I said, if you don't do that higher rep stuff, your muscles won't be as detailed too.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that lately. Talking about maximizing separation and detail by doing that, obviously that hard, heavy stuff, but also the volume and the amount of work that's needed. But I don't know. I've never seen any science around it.
Like, let's talk about this, Kay. When I get peeled, my glutes on stage, how straight they are?
Yep.
I was doing, for the last 4 weeks of prep after my cardio, I would use one of Jess's bloody tushy bands, and I would sit there on the bench in the garage after cardio, and I'll do like 4 sets of 80 reps, just squeezing my glutes. And it brought in so much more striations and detail, like it was crazy, just from doing that,
Interesting one.
Contracting the muscle constantly, it's going to put more detail in it,
Interesting. Hey, I think, Tracey, you touched on a really good point. You touched on tempo. You talked about slowing the reps down and things like that. Now, tempo is something that's probably often forgotten by a lot of people. And I've got to say, and it's really fucking me off lately, is in the gym watching people doing sloppy shit reps. And it's not because, it annoys me for any particular reason other than they're wasting their time. I'm like, if you're gonna fucking heave a weight up there and have no negative resistance, just fucking go to McDonald's and do something productive. It really, to me, it does my head in a bit. But, I think there's something to be said for, having that good form in that, but also you can vary that tempo, whether it's doing a slower concentric movement or a slower eccentric, pausing in the contraction or pausing in the stretch. So do you guys play around with tempos in your training?
Yep. I always find, though, it's hard when you try. I train on by myself as well. It's counting and then counting the reps. I just can't do it. I'll just basically go until my body says, yeah, that's enough.
I do the same. I go to get my logbook and I'm like, fuck, I was too busy counting 1, 2, push, 1, 2, push, and I was like, fuck, did I do 8 reps or 10 reps? But there's certainly something in there.
But another thing I do too is on the leg press, I'll put light weight on and I'll set it for 2 minutes and just, but that's brutal. Sometimes I just can't get to the 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And so you play around with tempos on your movements?
Even pain.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. Especially for legs, man, like hack squats. After you've done your heavy working sets, do like half the weight and then do 15 reps and pause at the bottom and you feel that stretch on your quad, the pull on it, and then it actually helps with that connection too. So you pause at the bottom, but you want to pause so you've still got the tension fully on the muscle and explode up, stuff like that.
From my lifting background, when you pause in that phase there, you negate a lot of the Golgi tendon stretch reflex from memory, which is about recruiting fibers. And I think you'd see it with I think a lot of the Russian powerlifters years ago used to dive bomb their squats and drop into them and fire up because they'd get a massive reflex which allowed them to recruit more muscle fiber. Obviously, the flip side of that is higher risk of injury. But if you're taking that stretch reflex out from the tendon, you're forcing the muscle to do a lot more work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a loss of elastic energy. That stretch short cycle when you pause at the bottom.
Yeah. The one with I've noticed it a lot on is on the calf raise when I see people sort of bouncing out of the bottom of that.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, your Achilles tendon's like a great big elastic band. And if you're going to bounce out of the bottom, the only thing you're training is your fucking Achilles tendon, really.
Yeah.
So,
I still remember like 7 years ago, bro, we were at Les Mills in Wellesley Street, and me and you were training arms, and then we did calves for like, we did two exercises for calves, and we're doing set of calf raises, and I remember you're like, bro, just sit there with one plate and do it for like 2 minutes and just sort of slow up and down and squeeze as you can. And you're like, and that since then I've always followed that technique, and it's so much better because, like you say, guys go up there, they put fucking French, they put like 4 plates on a calf raise, and they're training their Achilles, not their calves. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought, you know, think about taking your that elastic stretch out of it, and particularly on seated ones, I tend to do those longer, slower reps. When I've got a straight leg, I tend to be more explosive. But
yeah.
I
remember the chest press, paddle. Remember we did on
the
old Life Fitness chest press that has the paddle to press the handle up.
Yep.
Remember we used to use that with the stack and put like plates on it.
Yep.
I still do that now, and that's real good, bro.
I miss that. So for those that haven't done it, if you find one of the old chest press machine that's got the leg assist, which helps you to push up that first rep, just fucking load it up and use that to train your calves on. It's really good. Good times. Hey, what about things like rest pause sets and cluster sets? So I guess for those that haven't come across rest pause sets, you basically, you know, say for example, you know, you picked a weight that you could do 12 reps with. What you'd do is you'd break that into sets of 4 and have sort of 20 seconds rest in between and end up doing 16 reps. So you do 4 reps, 20 seconds rest, 4 reps, rest, repeat, until you've done, and you would have done 16 reps. So you're actually managing more reps than what you would have been able to get if you did it as a single set. So that's a rest pause set. A cluster set's kind of similar, but shorter rest period, 10 seconds in between. And effectively, you're sort of extending the amount of reps you can get out of a set. So have either of you two or Mike, have you played around with rest pauses or cluster sets?
I have on squats just to get more out of it. Yeah.
How did you find them on squats?
Hard, but it was good. Did the job. But yeah.
It's a different hard though, eh?
Yeah.
I find it's not hard like.
It's the cardio thing, trying to get your breath back.
Do you count every breath? I'm sort of going, 1. You're gonna start thinking about all these times, and when you're kind of like, yeah, kind of hard work. Good though.
I've used cluster sets a little bit with a sort of moderate rest, but I tend to sort of go to failure. But it might be between 8 and 10, and then give myself a 10-second or 15-second break, and then pick it up, and I'm down to maybe 6 reps, and then I might be down to 4 reps on the last one. So the idea, I guess, value to that is you're doing more reps close to failure, because it's those reps right close to failure that are the effective ones for growth. So if you're going 3 sets, I would have done, 18, 20 reps, but the last 2 of each of those individual sets, I would have done 6 reps close to failure, as opposed to doing 1 straight set and then only having 2 reps close to failure.
Yeah, actually, I think I had a bit of a blonde moment there, Mike. I think you described a rest pause set actually correctly. I sort of made it like a bit like a cluster set, but you're right. It's working to near failure or failure on your first, then taking 20 seconds, doing as many as you can, take 20 seconds, like that. So slightly different to what a cluster set is in that respect. So thanks, Mike. I had a blonde moment there for a minute. Right. Other things I've tried lately, I've been doing alternating muscle rounds. So something like if I'm doing biceps, what I'd do is I would go to failure on a single cable curl, one arm, switch to the other with no rest. So the only rest you're getting is while the other limb is training. And I found that really good. You know, like you end up chopping through 3 sets on each side in a very short time frame, and the pump's pretty insane. So you guys do that for arms, tries, buys, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's good for imbalances too, eh?
So
I've definitely done similar things. But yeah, I definitely, you gotta sometimes train one side at a time. Same with legs, eh? Like doing single leg presses, extensions and stuff. But yeah, I haven't done too much of it, but I definitely do put it in every now and then. Like today I did it with leg presses. After I did my heaviest sets, I did some singles for like sets of 15 to 20, just really squeezing and slowing them down, you know?
I find them really good doing single leg press. But
Yeah.
if you haven't done them for a while, your stabilizers are all over the show, eh?
Yeah. If you feel in the hips a lot, eh?
Yeah. And I get cagey because my knees are a bit sus, so I'm like, ooh. But
Yeah.
I do enjoy them, really enjoy them. And I think you seem to be able to get a lot better range of motion.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely hits the adductor a lot too.
Yeah. You got to anything that's holding that leg in a straight line kind of seems to be screaming by the end of it. Tracey, do you ever play around with alternating muscle rounds, things like that?
Yeah. I was doing I did legs today, so it was step ups.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've done those for a while, and it's like you're saying with the stabilizers. It's like, oh shit.
Awesome. Oh, anything else that you guys play around with that you use to make your workout more intense when you want to just really up the ante?
I think it's just also once going back to the stretching part of the stretch part of the reps, say for chest, if you're doing cable flies, like stop after like 12, 15 reps and just move forward and just keep it in that stretch position and like come up, and then you just feel all that just go in there, and then you'll do like another maybe 5, 6 reps after that, like an almost force rep. So like stuff like that. A lot of stuff for chest I do, like pin loaded chest presses, like pausing at the bottom and exploding up even when you're going really heavy. If you can get that stretch, not like you don't want to go so far back you're risking like rotator like health, you know, but you want to still keep that tension on the chest and pause, because if you can pause with the heaviest weight on a working set and then explode up, you know you got a lot of control on that too, you know.
It's interesting because my coach has got me doing that. Say, like the other day I did it on flies. So after I finished my drop sets with a really light weight, I was spread eagle, and then after back, he often has me have me hanging for a minute.
Yeah, it's real
stretch out. So that's another interesting one. I hadn't really thought about that actually, even though I was doing it. Sorry, far away.
Oh, you go, Mike.
Today I was doing triceps that I do underhand like so to failure, and then I flip my hands over, and then I could do a few more reps because I'm putting them in a sort of stronger position. So whether you call that I don't know, extended set or a drop set, because I was using the same weight, but because I was in a mechanically more advantageous position, that allowed me to continue on that set and just hit the muscle in a slightly different way.
Yeah. Have you? I don't know if you guys have seen a couple, probably 5 weeks ago. You know Zane Watson from Canada.
Mm.
Have you seen the Regan Grimes video of him doing a 20-minute arm workout?
No.
It's 25 minutes. It is fucking crazy, man. I started using some of the techniques he was saying, like when you do a tricep push down, like going to failure, squeeze your biceps at the top into the stretch, and then like slow down, man. That crap is painful as hell, and you get the most insane pump, like stuff like that.
There's lots.
Crazy.
Yeah, whoa. There's a lot of little things like that people kind of forget about, and I think you talked about squeezing your bicep, you know, the opposing muscle. The other one I saw was on tricep pushdown was at the top of the movement to let your shoulders come up a bit as well, just to force that tricep to stretch more in that position. Whereas a lot of people say you shouldn't do that, and it's sort of like, well, if you do it for the right reason, you know. There's one other thing I thought about, mechanical drop sets. Do you guys ever do those, like where you say tricep pushdown's a great example, or even curls, when you're on a cable and you step out 3 steps, you do your set to failure, then move in a step, maybe turn around the other way, and it changes the mechanics.
Yeah, it's going from like, I'm going to say it to you, stand up straight, slowly move out. It's like long head, short head, long head, short head. You know,
Mm.
it's really good, man. I've done that. It's real good with a rope too, because you can get that, real like twist the wrist at the bottom, and you get that real crazy contraction.
Mm. Anything else anyone wants to touch on while we're wrapping up on intensity techniques?
Every now and then I'd just set myself a crazy kind of target, and it was usually something simple, 10 sets of 10 with a 30-second rest or something like that. And once you start, you just go into it. I'd use it sort of maybe once a month or so on a particular muscle group, just for get out of the ordinary, maybe shorten the workout down, but make it really high intensity. And it's sort of, I'll do 10 sets of 10 on 100 on the squat or something like that. But once you kind of started, well, you either say you get in and your partner gets out and vice versa, keeps the rest period really short. But once you've set the goal, set the workout, and you've started, there's just no, oh, this really hurts. Okay, well, fuck, who cares if it hurts, You just got to finish it because you've set yourself that number or whatever you've got to do. So there's a little bit of value to that for me. It's just a bit of a mental break and shock the body physically.
Yeah, that sounds like almost like German volume training, eh?
Just as a kind of one-off, once in a while.
Yeah.
Just throwing something.
10 sets of 10 is quite similar to what that German volume is, eh? I don't know if you heard of that. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They tended to have high frequency, though, didn't they? They had 3 or 4 muscle groups a day, and they rotated through, so they ended up training each muscle. Was it the Bulgarian strength training?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the German one was like.
Long time ago, I read it.
I haven't been over that stuff in ages.
There's a lot of things you can do to make your workout kind of hold your interest slightly different, but also adds intensity. So, I mean, the old saying, like, there's more than one way to fuck a cat. So, I think whatever intensity techniques you guys, whatever intensity techniques you choose to incorporate, I think the key message from all of us is, use a sensible amount. Don't just pepper your workouts throughout the week full of them, because otherwise you'll hit the wall real quick. So I hope people got something today from just our very, very brief introduction to some of the things that we do. And look, there's a million more things out there, and we could probably spend all night if we really dredged up some of the things we've done over the years and some of the things we do. But we'll call it that for tonight, and I'm sure that things will come up and we'll think, oh, we need to talk about that, but we can do that in another session. So I want to thank you, Tracey, for coming along, and Ants for coming along again. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
And to everyone out there, we'll be back.